can hear you.
It picks up everything. You can see from the red.
Let me turn this off. Yeah.
That it even picks up too much.
What's the name of the podcast?
It's called Pod Potatoes.
Pod Potatoes?
It's like
okay.
a couch potato, pod potato.
Got it.
Some people don't get it. They like the name. Some people don't. I have 2 bucks. Let's see what else I have.
Oh, God. I might have 50 cents in my car. Oh, you are the best. I never carry cash. Who carries cash?
I know. Who carries cash anymore?
Yeah.
I run a business which funds my comedy, doing comedy. And I get all my money in PayPal,
I get it Venmo.
Venmo?
Or clubs pay me cash, usually.
Really? I would rather be paid in cash.
They used to offer me in the 80s cash or Coke.
Oh, really? Yeah, I heard
usually I
about
would
that.
go, I'll take half and half. But let's do it. I only have 40 minutes because I have to be in Pasadena by 6:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah. Is it already recording?
Yeah, it's already going.
It can pick us up, no problem?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
It's doing great.
All right, let's do it.
The only thing is I don't want to have, it's a very casual, podcast. I'm thinking of doing it in my house, in my apartment, and,
But I like this idea
Joe
that you're
Rogan.
Well, he
just
does it
hanging
in his
out.
garage. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just hanging out, Yeah, he's like, that's funny, he's like beating, and any artificial sweetener, he's like beating the networks in most cable stations.
Oh, he's doing phenomenal. It's 15 million listeners.
Imagine if he went to like Stars or Comedy Central or anything with this idea.
Thank you.
Can I have some sweetener for this, please?
Yes.
And a straw. Imagine if you went to them and said, "Yeah, I want to interview a theoretical astrophysicist for 4 hours."
But he does it.
And he does, and they would have laughed him out of the room.
They would have laughed him out of the room.
And now he's doing it, and he's getting bigger ratings. It just shows.
And he's making $200,000 a month in revenue.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Which is not as much as Comedy Central makes, but
probably not. No, he's a phenomenon, and it's just an idea. Do what you want to do.
And the money will follow.
Do what you like. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does.
How's your show working out at the restaurant?
I'm done with it. I got burned out. It was too much work, and I want a deal. I need a place that has a budget, and I need a place that has more people, because I don't want to be responsible for bringing people in. I want to work.
You book comics that do it?
Yeah.
You should book some seasons that don't have to.
Right.
And then non-season.
Do a bringer.
Right.
I've just been trying to avoid the bringer so much.
That's what Shindig does, and he packs the place because the people that bring pack, and then fans, like when I promote, show up.
And it helps that you're there, or someone's there like that.
Because then it's really, they actually relax. It's not like the new comics that are not quite found their footing yet.
I did my bit with it for a while. It was a beautiful stage, a beautiful place.
I loved it.
Sorry to let it go.
Yeah.
But, I was so burned out, and I just needed, just getting booked, just hustling to get booked, getting getting a little bit of gas money,
They wouldn't even give you that?
Oh, no, they wouldn't give me any budget, and I should have been on them to advertise and put advertisements up on Comedy Bureau and things like that.
Yeah,
but it just took so long just dealing with the comics, just dealing with the people, just booking people. Dealing with you is wonderful because you're a pro. Mm-hmm. You say you're going to be there, you're there.
Right.
All these other people that I'm dealing with, some of them are talented, some of them are mediocre. And I was just like, man, these people, please put me on the flyer. Please put me on the flyer. I'll bring 8 people. And not only would the 8 people they were going to bring not show up, but they wouldn't show up either. It was just like dealing with nuts.
That's terrible.
And
those people won't be comics in 5 years. They'll be out of the business because the business will have eaten them alive.
Yeah, there's a lot of people getting eaten alive by business. And there was, these people eating me alive. What I should have done too, because I used to go till 2 in the morning sometimes.
Right.
Because at 12 o'clock at night, everyone would be gone, but then 30 people coming from the bar. So it'd be me doing an hour in front of 30 people, which was fun. Or, I'd have a bunch of people there. What I should have done was maybe after 11, I should have said open mic and tried people $5 to come up. And I should have done bringer shows like you're saying.
Right.
But I just hate the idea of bringer shows so much.
Why though? They work.
Yeah, well.
And sometimes bringer shows, the comics that bring the audience is the first time those people have ever been to a comedy show.
Yeah.
Some of them become hooked on comedy after
Yeah.
that. Will go and support comedy. So it's a feeder traffic into
all right.
the world of comedy.
That's good. Then on the negative side, they can go to bringer show and see nobody that they like, and
they'll never go back to live comedy again.
They'll never go back to live comedy.
That's why you pepper it with big
someone like you. Yeah. Hopefully a good comic. You know, I'm just doing this and going around and doing as many shows as I can and bugging everyone to get on their show and just doing everything I can to try to get out there. You know? Right. And arguing with people on Facebook, which I shouldn't do.
Why are you
but
even
I just think it's funny. It amuses me. I don't know. I like. When
you argue with a 7-year-old and you're losing the argument, that's never a good thing, Mark. It is never a good thing when you're arguing with internet trolls. I don't even do my own internet. I have an assistant that
someone else does it.
Yeah.
I just it entertains me sometimes to do it, and I do. So I write my jokes on onto Facebook, and it goes onto Twitter, and I do that because I've had people steal my jokes and practice them in front of me, and I'm like, let's. And then I've seen other things that I've seen other people doing jokes. You know, that sounds like my joke, but it's rewritten. You know.
Well, but sometimes there's a thing called universal theme.
Universal theme.
Right.
And
credit card debt is not your joke.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I did have this one joke that was about the logical fear of hippopotamuses.
It's my favorite animal, by the way.
Yeah. And
Fiona at the Cincinnati Zoo, I'm obsessed with.
Really?
The baby hippo, yeah.
They could actually outrun you and kill you, and they're actually the most dangerous animals in Africa.
Correct.
More people.
In Africa.
Yeah.
They kill more people in Africa than AIDS.
And they grab, like, the alligators and throw them around.
Right.
You know?
I made up that last stat, by the way. For effect.
Oh, for effect?
I said they kill more people than AIDS.
Yeah.
In Africa? No, they don't. AIDS kills thousands of people.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a horrible disease over there. But you don't hear too much about it.
But now they have the second person on the planet cured.
Right.
Just happened in England through he got a bone marrow transfusion and ended up curing his AIDS. Which is weird to me because I'm like, why are you getting if you're dying of AIDS, why are you worried about bone cancer?
Bone cancer. Well, hey, maybe they found a cure.
Now he's got neither.
Maybe they found a cure then.
Completely healed. Crazy.
That's how they found Viagra. It was a heart medication.
I know.
This is not working. It's heart medication.
And Propecia was for enlarged prostates.
Really?
Yeah. I was at an asteroid if you want to ever save money on it.
I was doing a gig, one of my few paid gigs, one of my first paid gigs, and it was a bunch of old men, and they
Wait a minute, you're an old man.
I'm an old man, like me, even older than me.
Oh, they were like Moses and Methuselah? That's funny.
And they were all, God, what was it? It wasn't Viagra that they were swearing by. It was Cialis.
Yeah, because it's 36 hours.
Yeah, they were all, Cialis was it. One person said Cialis, but they all said, yep, Cialis. And we were all, just like men, you know, we're all doing jokes about, they said, do jokes about dysfunctional families. So I'm like, well, I've got that.
Yeah.
You know,
That's why you're
plenty of that. That's why I'm a comedian, right? There's a few comedians out there that didn't have dysfunctional families, but they still have the thing. Some of them are great. You know who says...
I think that we all come from some sort of damage.
Yeah, there's got to be some damage in there somewhere.
Well, why else would we be a comedian?
Right.
That and we're cheap. We won't pay for therapy.
Yeah, that's true.
We will not pay for therapy. We just won't. I don't know that many comics in therapy. Mark Schiff, I think, is the only one I know in therapy.
I go to Al-Anon, which is free. You can give a few bucks.
I know what it is, yeah.
And that saved my life. And I see other comics there. Al-Anon, for those of you who don't know, is for people who have alcoholic parents.
Yeah.
Or relatives, or loved ones, sons or daughters,
addict parents.
Addiction somewhere in their family.
Right. It teaches you how to deal with the addict and how to live your life fully.
And
there's
also
12 steps and 12 traditions.
12 steps, 12 traditions. You let go of
What's
the disease.
your favorite step in Al-Anon?
Oh, the first one, probably.
Powerless over the alcoholic?
Powerless over, yeah.
And that they're making your life unmanageable?
Making my life unmanageable.
That's
You know, probably that. You know, God is the hardest thing for me.
God forbid you do a fearless and searching moral
Fearless,
inventory.
I'm always doing that. I'm doing my steps for the second time around. And one of the things
you have
the sponsor. I just lost my sponsor.
They died?
He's 83.
Was 83. He's
been
dead.
in the program for 30 years.
Is he dead?
He's just getting so old.
He doesn't remember your name?
That he's like, I call him and he's too tired to call back. And, but when I can talk to him, he's wonderful. But I do need to find another sponsor.
Wow.
He had so much wisdom.
And they help you a lot?
And he helped me a lot. And he would just repeat the same thing to me over and over again.
Well, maybe it's what you needed to hear.
He would and it was what I needed to hear.
Exactly what you needed.
Repeat that same thing to me till I would get it, and then he would go on to something else. But he'd been doing it for 30 years, and he just had this wonderful.
So you had alcoholic parents?
Oh, 2 alcoholic parents. Yeah, I have lots of, and I can be public about that because I do lots of material about it. You know, I say when I was in high school.
Are you allowed to be public about being an Al-Anon?
You can be. You don't out other people.
Oh, but isn't one of the things like you have to be anonymous?
Anonymous in that you.
Isn't it
what
in the title?
Other people say there.
Oh.
Like if I saw you at Al-Anon, I wouldn't say
on
my
podcast.
Al-Anon. I saw
it,
which I didn't. But if I did, I wouldn't say that I did.
Okay.
That would be breaking.
But don't you
your
all just use first names? So how would people know?
You
well,
do.
If you use my first name.
Your first name, people probably know.
Yeah.
But I see lots of other comics there sometimes, and that's good. And there's a lot of abuse, a lot of chemical abuse, a lot of. And people are also what's called double winners. That means they had alcoholic parents, then they become an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Why is that a winner?
It's called being
that would
double.
Be a double loser.
It's called being a double loser, but they don't do that because they don't want to beat people.
So you call it
double winner.
That's
you
funny.
See?
I like that. Though. That's very caring.
It's very nice. It is very caring.
Very caring.
And that's the idea of Al-Anon. You learn to, the first rule of an alcoholic family is don't feel anything.
So for people who are listening who might have this problem, how do they find
Just go on the internet, and there's. In LA, you're lucky you can go to like 3-4 meetings a day.
They have that many?
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Per day?
Yeah, per day. No, they have like, all over LA, there's probably 20, 30 meetings every day.
Wow.
Meetings going on right now. If you wanted to, you could go from meeting to meeting to
And how
meeting.
much do they cost?
Nothing.
You just said they were a couple bucks.
They pass a hat, and if you want to, if you can.
And tell everybody you had to pass the hat because I couldn't afford the parking, and Mark gave me the $3 to pay for the parking here.
$3
bucks. Do we plug the place?
There's some places.
Are you going to plug the restaurant?
Oh, we're at Mills.
On Highland Avenue, at
Hollywood Boulevard.
Well, thank God you can't afford to pay licensing.
I love to. They should sponsor me. I love to. I'm going to ask them. I love to live in a place where there is action, people, things.
This restaurant's empty and dead. There's nobody here.
It is, but Hollywood Boulevard is filled with life.
Maybe you should do your podcast at Musso and Frank's.
Musso and Frank's is good.
I know. Mm-hmm. And have you seen the Kaminsky Method on Netflix?
Not.
The whole thing is practically shot in Musso and Frank's.
In Musso and Frank's?
Yeah.
I just was watching Visitors, and I can't find anything else that's good. Visitors is surprisingly good.
Do you mind watching subtitled shows?
No.
You have to watch Subura. It's my new favorite show.
Subura.
Subura.
Yeah.
It's an Italian crime. It's
oh, really?
unbelievable.
Oh, Italian. Oh,
it's 2 seasons on Netflix. It's a Netflix original for their Italian subscribers. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, maybe I will look at it. Some of my favorite films are.
This is a TV series, not a film.
When I was at art school,
did you go to SCAD?
To SCAD?
Yeah, I performed there.
No, I did. Got my bachelor's degree in fine art at the Otis Art Institute of the Parsons School of Design.
You went to Otis
in Los Angeles? Yes, I did. I did my master's work.
As a comedian.
I did my master's work.
Hold on a second. That's a very difficult school to get into.
It is. And I did my master's work at the California Institute of the Arts.
At Cal Arts is what we call it.
This is what I'm doing instead of making objects anymore. I'm doing comedy. I'm a performance artist doing comedy.
But I don't see your performance art. I've seen your comedy. You just do stand-up.
I do.
And where's the performance part?
I'm trying to eliminate that as much as I can.
your Hawaiian shirts, the performance part.
Well, let's say, okay, I'm doing a biographic and talking about my story,
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
So I'll put it in a joke format. Okay.
I hope that it's the comedy way.
When I was in high school, I was diagnosed with severe chemical depression. Later on in life, I found out it was actually called two alcoholic parents. Okay. So this is performance art. I'm telling my story, but I'm putting it in a joke format. They did when I was
What was the medication?
Ritalin and Selzer. My mom.
I never heard of Selzer, but Ritalin.
My mom used to OD me on it.
Delicious.
I don't even remember large parts of my childhood.
But if you don't have ADHD, did you not get loaded from Ritalin? Just sped right up?
I didn't know what I was when I was little. They just had me zonked out of my mind on.
You're so lucky.
Hyper.
You're so lucky.
Being sober.
I wish I had parents that drugged me.
They drug you. Well, you know, when you're hyperactive, these things work the opposite on you.
Yeah, they slow you down. It's like fighting fire with fire.
Right. Supposedly. But they don't really even know why it works. It's just drugs that
But were you hyperactive? You don't seem hyperactive.
That's how I supposedly I was when I was little.
And you grew out of it?
Supposedly. I grew out of it into depression.
Into depression.
Horrible depression. Then they gave me drugs for that.
Now?
I'm all right.
You're not depressed?
No, I'm not.
Just normal depression.
Normal depression.
Which people
but
in
not
LA
suicidal
want to
depression.
run from depression. Why is that?
I don't know.
Why am I interviewing you, by the way?
This is a free-form show. You know, whatever works.
But why are people so afraid of depression? It's such a healthy thing.
I don't know. You know, when I was, I'll tell you.
How would you know great joy if you didn't know great sadness?
I'll tell you. It's true. See, that's very poetic. See, I'll tell you a story about that. When I was on my depression medication, I was very depressed. Eventually, it stopped working.
Ah, okay. What were you on, like Wellbutrin or?
They had me on everything as the new ones came out.
But not Cialis?
They had me on, God, what was, no, I tried Cialis, it didn't work at all.
Cialis is the erection medication.
Okay, not Cialis. No, what was it? It was another, it started with a C, it sounds similar to Cialis.
I don't know.
God, what was it called? But I completely forget it. But anyway, eventually I took myself off the medication, and my psychiatrist at the time told me, you know what, listening to your life story, which I won't go into, is really depressing. She said, you should be depressed. This is normal for you.
Right.
This is normal. You listening to all what you've gone through growing up and what you've gone through in your life, you should be depressed. They thought it was chemically depressed.
Turns out it was just situational.
She decided that it was an incorrect diagnosis, that I should be depressed.
Right.
Like when I was little, my parents took me to a psychiatrist to find out what was wrong with me. My two alcoholic parents, and my mother was a my mother,
crazy alcoholic person,
right,
to see what was wrong with me. And I'm 5.
And I was like 8.
You have no problems at 8.
And the psychiatrist just knew I had two crazy alcoholic parents. He knew there was a problem. He would just talk to me
they put you on
and just say, "Here, would you like a Coke?" And we just talk to me for a while. He was crazy parents.
Do you know, I used to think I was being abducted by aliens, and my parents took me a psychiatrist.
Really?
And then the psychiatrist, after seeing me for 2 years, diagnosed me with a very vivid imagination, which was quite healthy for a boy my age.
No, it's good. It's very good.
But they spent a fortune to get that diagnosis.
Yeah, healthy imagination.
Healthy imagination. I sat them down and I just said, there's something going on with this family. I go, I'm being abducted by aliens, a master race. is abducting me, a kid in New Hampshire, because clearly there's something wrong with this planet. If I'm this theatrical and I've ended up in New Hampshire with you a car salesman and you a factory worker.
So how did you start out in comedy besides that? You said you had some interesting roommates for a while?
Just comedian roommates. But that's not how I started. I started in comedy because I had a very big agent. I used to be a flight attendant. And I had a very big agent on the airplane. I didn't know who he was, and I also had Dolly Parton on the flight. And I was ignoring him and obsessed with her. And I got her to sing a few bars of 9 to 5 over the PA system.
Uh-huh.
And he was watching this whole interaction. He thought it was really funny. And he gave me his card, and I thought he was this queen hitting on me.
Right.
I had no idea. So I was on my way to L.A., and I was laying over here in L.A., and I never, ever stayed at the hotels that the airline put us up because I had friends here. So my friend Blaine, who was also a flight attendant, who was based in LA, I would stay at his house. So I get to his house and I'm emptying out my jacket pockets and stuff, and I put the card in the bureau. And Blaine was a part-time actor. The only reason he became a flight attendant was so he could be an actor, so he had the flexibility to audition and whatever.
Right.
He sees the card and he goes, "Oh my God, where did you get this?" I said, "That old queen, I think he was hitting on me." He goes, "Do you know what this card says?" I go, "I can read. It says CA." He goes, "No, you idiot, that's CAA." I go, "What's CAA?" He's like, "The biggest agency in the world."
Wow, cool.
What did this guy say to you? I said, he told me if I was ever in LA to look him up, if I ever thought about maybe working in the entertainment industry. But I thought he was hitting on me. So Blaine calls right away. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And the agent says, "Can you come in tomorrow?" I said, "Well, I got to fly out at 4 o'clock. It's got to be 4 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And he laughs. He's like, because I still don't get it. I'm still thinking like a flight attendant. I had no idea that this agent, the most powerful agent in the world at the time, took my call.
Decided that he wanted to use you for something.
Correct. So I go to the CAA building, it's in the I Am Paid building, gorgeous building. I walk in, I recognize half the art on the wall because I've seen it in movies, TV shows, magazines, books, your world.
Right.
I'm like, that's a Picasso. I've seen it. That's a Picasso. Like, I know that's a Picasso.
That's a real Picasso.
It's I didn't know it was real. I was like, oh, these people are putting, prints on the wall. Turns out they weren't prints.
Yeah, they're prints.
So they send me up to go see his office. I sit in this giant lobby area. An assistant comes up to me and she goes, "Can I get you something to drink? He'll see you in just a minute." And I said, "What do you have?" And she goes, "Everything." So I figure I'll test her, right? Because people say that to me when I was a flight attendant. So I go, "I'll have an Orangina." You know how hard those are to get? She comes back with an Orangina. I go, and I reach into my pocket and I go, "How much?" She goes, "It's free." I go, "This is free?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "I'll take a second one." And so she comes back. So I'm walking into Mike Ovitz's office
with two
Oranginas, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, "Did you know these are free?" And he's like, "Because I'm still a flight attendant up here. I'm not Hollywood at all."
Millions of dollars.
Right. And he brings me into this conference room, and I kid you not, Mark, from here to that beveled glass was the length of the table.
Wow.
And he sat, and there was only 2 chairs, one here and one over there, and pitchers of water everywhere and glasses. And he sits down, and I'm like, "What do you?" So I pick up the chair from over here, and I walk it over and go, "Why am I sitting so far away from you?" And I point it literally right like this, and he just starts laughing. And I go, "I don't get what you're laughing at." I go, "What kind of idiot would make a table this long with only 2 chairs in it?"
Right.
He is on the floor laughing hilariously at me because I have no idea that I'm walking a fine line and I could have insulted him.
Right.
But I don't know that and I don't care.
Right.
So he looks at me
It's
and
his power move.
probably, but I didn't know that. I just thought, why are you sitting way over here?
Right.
I mean, I was like a hillbilly to him, probably this anomaly.
I get it.
He picks up the phone, he calls the Improv in Hollywood, he makes a few other phone calls that I don't know who he's talking to. He goes, "When's the next time you're in town?" And I told him, I said, "I have this flight all month. I'll be here once a week, every week.
Right.
Same flight. If the same flight you were on, I'll be on it, right? New York to LA. The following week, in midweek, he calls me at home. He's like, "Listen, I've set up a spot for you. It's a Friday night. It's at the Improv in Hollywood. Can you come and tell some jokes?" I said, "I don't have any jokes." "Well, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Can you just get up and talk about being a flight attendant and being working in the airline industry?" So, "Okay, that's it?" He goes, "What do you mean that's it?" I go, "That's all you want me to do?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "How long do you want me to talk for?" And he goes, "Can you do a tight 10? I go, "Oh, what does that mean?"
Wow.
What's a tight 10? He goes, "Can you talk for 10 minutes? I go, "I could talk for an hour."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Chatty Cathy.
He spotted you as a natural.
So I get to the Improv. It is packed with people. And I'm looking on the list, and there's names I recognize on the list, right? And I go, "My name isn't even on that list." He goes, "You're the TBD." That's what it was listed, TBD.
Right.
And they had me going up 4th. And this one comic, Kevin Nealon, came up to me and he goes, "This is the best spot, is 4th. Who are you? How'd you get this spot?" I go, "It's a long story."
Wow.
So the show starts, I go up, and mind you, I'm dressed as a flight attendant. I forgot to say that. I'm dressed because I literally got off the plane. And I kill. I don't even know I'm killing. I'm just telling stories I've always told at parties and whatever. And then the next day, I'm getting ready to get to LAX to leave on a flight. And he goes, you're going to want to quit your job. And I said, why would I want to quit this is Michael. I go, why would I want to quit my job? He goes, Fox is going to sign you to a $500,000 development deal.
Wow.
And I didn't go, wow. I go, who's Fox? What's development deal?
Right.
And why would they give me that kind of money?
Uh-huh.
And he said, should I go back to them for more? No, that's not what I'm asking. Although then I'm like, can you?
Yeah.
And that's how it started, Mark. It was a complete fluke and a complete accident.
That's so weird.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't had any kind of luck like that. I've just been,
Not a development deal yet?
No, nothing, just tiny incremental steps. Occasionally.
Don't they say in your thing sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly?
Yeah.
In your
it's better that it's slow, but
it lasts longer if it's slow.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't still be doing it. Well,
you have to do it for the love of it. You started off this whole podcast by saying, do what you love.
Right.
And the money will follow.
Hopefully.
So do that.
That's what I did. I started that's how I make a living. I was collecting punk rock records. And I started to sell them.
Oh,
them.
Someone told me this about you.
Really?
Yes.
And that's how I survived, is I hoarded punk rock records because I loved them. It's everywhere, all over the world.
Right.
And 70s and 80s.
Were you sad when the lead singer of the Ramones died?
Yeah, it was kind of sad a little bit,
I'm friends with Courtney Love.
Courtney Love, she came into my record store once.
I love her. She's a good friend.
The first album she said that she was ever on, which was a band called the Popo Pies.
Yeah.
It was their first album. She said she was clapping and doing background or something on it. She bought it from me. And I just kind of retired on my bad taste in music. So that was
Why was that
what
bad
I did.
taste if you were making a living?
It was considered bad taste then, and I wasn't making a very good living.
But now look,
now
it's really
like
rare
a hit
stuff.
thing. So
those records are rarer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hoarded them when no one wanted them. I would just go into record stores. I would drive around the country. I'd go into record stores. I'd grab every punk rock record they had, put on the counter, and start negotiating. And they
were Amoeba before Amoeba was Amoeba.
Right. I would go to Amoeba when they would sell. They would have a punk rock record up on the wall for $30, but that wasn't the real rare one. The really super rare one was from Germany or Finland. It was in a $1 bin. Because the people there that were supposedly experts at punk rock had no idea what they were doing. So I would go to their dollar bin, grab all those records, and then I'd offer them money too for what they had on the wall that they thought was valuable. And they would just let it go. But I just kept buying, and now I've got 40,000 punk rock records.
Are you still selling?
I sell them, yeah. That's how I make a living.
You do it on eBay and stuff?
I hate eBay.
Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I do it. Their fees are so extreme.
Oh, there are?
They're very extreme with their fees.
Oh, I thought it was free.
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
I've never sold anything on eBay.
The place that I sell that's wonderful is Amazon.
Oh, I love Amazon.
And there's another place.
You're part of their marketplace?
Yeah. I'm part of another place called Discogs, which if you're a record collecting fanatic,
you know it. Yeah, I don't know it.
Go to discogs.com. And that was a record website that started out as a Wikipedia kind of thing. It wanted to make a list of every single record ever listed. So you have, the Rolling Stones, and then you have all their records in order. Oh, comedy records.
So my albums are listed there?
Your albums are listed there, definitely.
Wow.
And in order of release, photograph of each one, photograph of the inside, photograph of the CD, or if you have any vinyl out or whatever.
No, it's never vinyl, it's disc.
Usually it's
CD. Wow.
Okay? It may not be yet, but if it's not, it soon will be.
Yeah.
Because it's expanding every day. And because they had people do it. And the people...
Just like Wikipedia did. They had
and then they decided just like Wikipedia. And then they had people to go, okay, let's sell these records too. Then they have this... Then the record website became so good and so popular that other places where they sold music online were shutting down. because it was drawing so much.
Like Amazon is doing to like
Business
Sears
away,
and all those stores.
It's sucked them dry because it was such a perfect format for records. You want to know what the first Rolling Stones single was? What year it came out? You go there to their single.
What the cover art looked like.
What the cover art looked like, if it had a cover, and they all go in order, one after another. Every version, the Brazilian version, the English version. So there's 300 versions of the record. It's all there, and photographs of the label, and the front and the back of the sleeve.
So you sell there too.
That's where I sell mainly. And
is that your main?
Amazon.
Is that your main?
Those are my two. Those are my.
And you
two.
make it up to support yourself.
I make it up to support myself.
That's amazing.
And the thing
and
is,
it's a passion that you love.
It's something that I'm like one of the world's best experts on punk rock records.
Why don't you write a book?
Yeah, it goes into doing the business.
That's all your time?
That's all my time. I do that like crazy, and I do my orders.
And you do your comedy.
And then at night, I do my comedy.
You're a night owl, yeah.
So, and then I come home. Sometimes I come home at 2 in the morning, and that's when I work. 2 in the morning till like 7 in the morning. I sleep during the day. You have to do comedy. People get me at their show at 8 o'clock. I just woke up a half hour ago or an hour ago. That's my morning. I'm like, I
go have comics hours.
In my eye.
But you have comics hours.
I have comics hours already.
Yeah,
right.
you sleep till 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I sleep.
We do.
That's what I sleep. But I work, and I can take days off. If I don't feel like working, if I'm burned out, I don't do it. I've got to make the packages. I've got to deal with customers.
But what if someone pays for overnight delivery and you don't feel like working? You have to do it.
Then I do it.
Yeah.
If someone's paying, I'll go make the trip to the store that day.
So they don't come pick up at your house?
No, I've had people do. I have a few customers.
No, I meant the UPS won't come to your house and pick up.
They will.
Extra.
They can do that, but I have to package the records up. I just had to package a order up going to Minnesota. The guy ordered $2,000 in records, in punk rock records. And
how do you prevent fraud, by the way?
How to prevent fraud? Get the money first.
That's how you do it?
But you still can't have fraud. People can do that. Happens all the time. It happens on Amazon. People will complain to Amazon, try to get free stuff, not return the records. It happens all the time.
And what happens? Does Amazon protect you?
You have to eat it. You have to eat it. Someone in France could order a record from you, say they didn't get it when you know they did, and well, maybe they didn't. Who knows? And you just have to. It's a $60 record. You have to say, okay, well, there's nothing I can do.
But you said that insured.
Sometimes.
So then you get your money back that way.
Well, you can't really insure going overseas, so it's more of a risk sending overseas.
Do you sell overseas then?
I do, but you just have to.
But how often have you been burned? Not that often.
Yeah, you get burned, once every 6 months.
That's not a lot.
Or sometimes there's a little bit of fraud on Amazon, and you lose a $30 record. But I sold, 5 $30 records that day, right?
Right.
So, you just have to go, this is part of doing business.
Right.
That's how it is.
But you can write that off as a loss.
You can.
Do you itemize your taxes?
No.
You don't pay taxes?
No, I won't even go into this. Let's not go into my taxes. But anyway, there's difficulties and there's challenges doing mail-in. You have stress, even though I insured this order for $2,000, going to Minnesota. So I packed it in layers of cardboard, and I also put a bag in there because there's snow in Minnesota.
Oh, okay? To protect the album.
You want to make sure that nothing gets wet because I'll have picture sleep. So there's layers of packaging. There's ways of packaging it. I took a picture of it and sent it to him, and he has a tracking number. And you hope everything goes good, but there's always stress.
Yeah.
Am I going to get my $2,000 back with the insurance? Are they going to try to screw me around in some way? If something goes wrong. But you want to make sure that the customer's happy, and that's the way it is. Their records, their punk rock records, are worth $1,000. And, I'll sell them. I have some of them.
Who's the most expensive, rarest album?
Probably Crash by the Japanese punk band called The Stalin.
The Stalin?
The Stalin. And then there are other things.
Called Trash.
The album's called Trash, and the band is called The Stall, and they were from Japan in 1980. There's other records I've sold for $1,000 from Japan. There's
why they was limited print.
Oh, very. I mean, imagine in 1978 in Japan, how many people were doing punk rock? Not too many people.
They got enough to get a record deal.
There would be independent records and independent record companies.
Themselves.
You know, like if you have the first press of the first Black Flag single, which is different than the second press, and the third press, and the fourth press, you have something that's potential. I think at this point it could be going somewhere between $500 and $1,000. Okay, if you have it, if you have the first single by the Germs. I've had it many times and I've sold them all. But it doesn't matter. I've got other.
Have you ever gotten the same album back to you?
Oh yeah, you find them again.
You'll find them again.
They're
like children.
But I stopped buying.
They always come back home.
I stopped buying at a certain point.
Well, you've got 40,000 albums.
It got harder. I used to have this girlfriend from Iran, and she had this wonderful accent, and she used to say to me, "Why do you have all these CDs?"
They were albums.
They were albums,
CDs.
yes. She would call them CDs. She said, "Why are you buying more? You're never going to sell these even before you die."
Right.
It's like, true. And once I did die, I still had 40,000 albums. I died twice in the same day, and they brought me back.
Was that an Al-Anon overdose?
No, it was related. It was related to stress of having 2 alcoholic parents.
Probably.
But I died, and they brought me back, and I'm like, man, I saw these records. So when I sell a record now, I have to think about it. There's this guy that comes over and he'll buy my records with cash. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
And he has money. But sometimes I don't want to sell, because he's offering me too little. So it's like, am I going to hold out for this record to get like 400 for it, or 80, or whatever I want?
So I get it.
You get it?
I buy and sell domains.
It's the same thing.
But I only have about 800 domains.
Really? Mm-hmm. A guy who used to sell, the guy who had the UFC, UFC.com, he sold it for very cheap to them.
That was ridiculous.
Before he knew this was going to be huge.
I sold the comedy awards.
Really?
To MTV.
Really?
Yeah, for $250,000.
Oh my God. Okay, well that's a good chunk of change, but you could have got more. Now, probably.
Bought it for
right?
$7.99.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I've got about 800 domains. I own everything from ant.tv to standupcomedy.net.
Right.
And that I own comedy.tm, comedy.bz, comedy.
That's a good biz.
Oh my God, I got so many of them. Not just comedy, but all kinds of.
I've thought of going into that.
It used to be a lot better. I used to make almost $1 million a year doing it. Now I don't make that much.
Right.
Now it's really cooled off domaining.
It's so many people going into it. I thought, you know what? Concentrate on my business that I have.
That's
I've
new.
got some.
You do, yeah.
I bought some. I have.
Are you doing
friends.
okay with it?
I'm not. I buy Bitcoin. It just went down to half of what I bought it for. But it's going to go back up
now. It'll go back up.
It'll go back up.
What's it worth now?
I don't know. I just had friends. I had a friend who used to always tell me, "Mark, you got to get some Bitcoin. Got to get some Bitcoin."
Why don't you just mine it yourself? It's free. Just
mine it myself?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is right
now. That's how Bitcoin's come into existence. You didn't know?
No. Can mine Bitcoin?
That's how they come into existence. You mine them yourself. You just have to get a computer that is set up to complete a complex algorithm.
Uh-huh.
Once it completes the algorithm, you're awarded a Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
Yes. You've never heard of Bitcoin mining? Google it. Well, we're recording a podcast right now.
I bought some from my friend who's a Bitcoin millionaire.
Right, but most people have mined their coins themselves.
Really?
Yes, you can mine. All cryptocurrency is mined using computers. So you just have to buy a computer. The electricity is what costs you the most.
Right.
So it used to cost about $400 to mine one Bitcoin. But back then, Bitcoin was worth $16,000 a coin.
Right.
So it was worth spending the money. But people have banks and banks and banks and banks and banks of computers doing nothing but solving that algorithm to create more Bitcoin.
Really?
Yes.
So, I didn't know about that.
I just taught you something.
You did?
Yeah.
And I did a show. I didn't know about that, and I did a show on Bitcoin with my Bitcoin billionaire friend. He didn't even tell me about that.
Because he mined all those coins himself. He didn't pay for them.
Maybe.
Hold on.
He was buying them when they were nothing. He was just taking every cent and buying it. So I don't know if he's mining or what. I'll have to do another show with them and talk about mining Bitcoin. That's an interesting thing. We could do. I mean, there's an endless number of shows that have all these interesting stuff. Yeah, well, I will be definitely looking into it.
Create them out of nothing. You can do it at home.
Right.
You don't have to buy them from anybody.
I create money out of
nothing. The more
nothing.
people that mine, the more complex the algorithm gets.
Right.
And Bitcoin is set up, I think, to only create, I forgot how many thousand Bitcoins, but once it hits that number, no more will be created. And that's when your investment
will go up. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with my Bitcoins I have. I created money out of nothing by buying records nobody wanted.
Yeah.
Turning their nose up at.
Do what you love.
Here's a Finnish punk band.
And the money will follow.
Yeah. Took me a long time to make that business work. And then for a while I was in the doghouse too, because the one website that I was using to make most of my money shut down because of this other website, Discogs. And I had to go and
restart over.
I had to relist all my records on Amazon.
Right.
And do it one at a time.
With the photograph and the whole
40,000. Oh yeah, 40,000. I haven't done them all, but I did it to the point right now where I do not have to list, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Enough money's coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. Would just want to do comedy.
This will be
Work
a good
on
year
getting
for you.
paid more for comedy. And we'll see what happens.
This will be a very good year for
I
you.
hope so.
Well, no, it's definite. I'm a very lucky person. I'm like a leprechaun.
Well, it's good. We could do, I mean, the amount of shows you could do just with you, that's an interesting show, is just doing the .com domain mining.
So
It's so interesting, just to do that. And, there's other people that I knew a guy who used to work for Black Belt magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So I interviewed him about working for a
used to work for Jugs.
Kung Fu magazine. Really, for Jugs?
By mistake.
That'd be good too, just
I went
that.
to Frieden Temps and I said, I want to work in the entertainment industry, and they said, we're going to send you to Flint Publications. I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
I had just moved here. I had no idea what that was. They sent me to the Flint building before
Flint buildings, yeah, I've been in there.
And they put me at this desk, and they gave me the little script that said, thanks for calling Jugs Classifieds. And I said, what is Jug? I thought it was beer.
Right.
And they showed me the cover of the magazine, and I was mortified, and I got escorted out of the building because I said, this is pornography. Meanwhile, I'm at home jerking off to it, like, so regularly. Like, I was acting so indignant. Meanwhile, I'm a huge purveyor
It's always so, it's always, the worst offenders. That's why they say, out of the Bible Belt is the most porno watching going.
That's how DirecTV, you want to know what happened? There's an interesting suit. So in Ohio, a liquor store owner was sued for carrying Hustler magazine.
Uh-huh.
And he fought it. He fought based on First Amendment right.
Right.
Turns out they subpoenaed the records of DirecTV because DirecTV has the Spice Channel, all these hardcore X-rated channels. And it turns out the Midwest is the largest purveyor of pornography for DirecTV, including Columbus, Ohio, where his store was.
Right.
Number one market for. So his argument to the judges were, this is of a prurient interest related to community interests.
Right.
Because here's the numbers that they don't lie.
Right.
And he won.
Right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I once spoke to the guy who was a lawyer. I used to do a show for the Libertarian Party. Had this lawyer on there, and he was the guy who made the lap dance legal because they were trying to make the lap dance illegal. And his argument to the Supreme Court of California was that this is not prostitution, this is a dance.
It's art.
And the person that you're dancing on is the stage. And they bought it, and that's why you can still get a lap dance in
California.
Thank you.
Thank him for us. Yeah. Mark, I got to run.
Hey, it's been wonderful.
This was so nice. It was really fun. Thank you for paying for my valet parking.
Sure, anytime, man. We'll
Want me to buy your iced tea?
No, I'll pay for your car.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
The best. Who's coming in after me? Anybody?
No one. I did you, and then...
When is this going to air? Will you send me a link so I can promote it?
Yes.
I'll promote it on my social media.
I appreciate that. That'd be wonderful. It's wonderful seeing you.
Thank you. I've got
and I will see you again, hopefully someday.
Please keep in touch.
We'll do another show when you have some time.
Have a great day.
It was a great conversation. And that concludes Pod Potatoes for today. Thank you for listening. And that was Ant. And I'm Mark Selzer. So send this link to a friend.